Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley, both here in the sanctuary today and out there on Facebook Live. Good morning, everybody. I am Reverend Kelly Bershinsky, excited to be here with you on the first Sunday of October. And please, along with me, put your hands together and help me welcome our musical inspiration for the day, Mr. Ryan Kimmery. Thank you. Sorry, Ryan.
It's all right. Okay. Good to be with you guys. Happy Sunday. All right, I have a fun one for you. I've never performed this before, but it should be a lot of fun. Look for the bare necessity, those simple bare necessities. Forget about your worry and your strife. I mean those bare necessities, old Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities to life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. Those bees are buzzing in the tree, making some honey just for me. When you look under those rocks and plants and take a glance at all the fancy ants, and maybe try a few, those bare necessities of life will come to you. They'll come to you. Look for those bare necessities, those simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean those bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease. Just the bare necessities of life. Now when you take a pawpaw or a prickly pear and you pick a raw paw, well, next time be rare. Don't pick a prickly pear by the paw. When you pick a pear, just use your claw. But if you don't need to use a claw when you pick a pear of the big pawpaw, have I given you a clue? Look for those bare necessities, those simple bare necessities. Forget about your worry and your strife. I mean those bare necessities, old Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities to life. That bring the bare necessities to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was fun. Was that a fun song? That's a great song. I just think that's awesome. So the bare necessities, as Ryan is talking about. So this is a song that Ryan and I agreed to for a couple of reasons. First of all, our monthly theme for October, we're going to be talking about back to basics. And by that, I'm talking about the bare necessities, the basics of spirituality, the ideas of how do I take spirituality, the science of mind, the things we talk about in and around this center and throughout New Thought circles, how do I take that and actually use it to make a difference in my life? And what I find is that the critical component really is the basics. Like we can get all caught up in our minds, and I have to have the next, great item or the next shiny object, when most of life really boils down to basics. I saw it when I shared with you guys I was a pool player growing up and for much of my life. And while I was a pretty good pool player, on those nights when I wasn't performing quite as well as I'm capable of performing, I trained myself to always, in those instances, just pause and say, okay, what do I need to do here? And the solution was always go back to basics. That I wasn't stroking the cue ball right. I wasn't hitting it perfectly. I was moving my body before I finished that shot, for instance, and those are all violations of basic principles. And so that's what this month is about. Back to basics. All right, so what I would like to do right now is bring up our practitioner of the day, Buzz Noe, and he is going to, again, take us through our sacred ritual, sacred service of lighting the flames of faith.
Thank you. There you go. Hey, it's taller now.
Taller than me.
We must be growing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today at our center. And we're going to start with the flames of faith, which comes from the idea that we accept that there's one source to life. We call that source God. And that source is a reality. Our interpretation of that reality, what it is, where it is, what it does, how it looks, that's a human decision, which one of the things we're going to talk about today, it's a view that we take. So since we're all united and connected with the oneness of God, we're going to talk about that through the candles of faith and respect all the religions that work with and respect the oneness of God. So let's start with those. I've got to read them here. Lighting the candles of faith, we perform the ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which is very true. And here we go. What's that? Script. Oh, we're going to go with this. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for Christianity, honoring the Christ's consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candles for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual practices. And we light the candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and the presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them at this center, and for all the religions that unnamed in the ceremony we just did. And as we light the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone that you wish to have the experience of the healing flames of God's eternal love, which is what this is all about, using God to bring our lives to the reality of joy and health that we look for in our lives. And with that, I'm going to do an opening treatment to start us off today. So Ryan's going to be playing under me, and so let's all close our eyes now and go within to that one inner space within us that is our connection with the oneness of God. And know along with me these words as I say them in the first person. Please make them your own. For I know that right here and right now, in this singular moment, in the eternal evolution of time and space, there is one source to all that is, one universal source to life and to everything that is part of life. That source we call God. There is one God. There is one source. I am here from that source, and from that connected to the source that is God. And through that connection, connected with everything and everyone that is part of this universe, all coming from that same source. Knowing that I have that connection with God, with the source, and with everything from the source, I know that as I continue to go forward in my life, motivated primarily by love, kindness, caring, compassion, sharing, and giving as I can, I know that as I go forth in my life with these motivations, my life will return them tenfold through the infinite source that is God. Everything that I would like to have happen in life will be happening as I put it into my mind, as I put it into my view, as I put it out from my thought process into that oneness of God. Knowing this is so, knowing that this is the way life unfolds, knowing that this is my view of life, I know that I am here in the satisfaction of life, the satisfaction with God. And knowing this is the case, I release these words, these thoughts, these ideas, these prayers into that oneness of God, knowing that they will be forthcoming in my life. And together we can close by saying in connection and in universal, and so it is. And so it is. We're starting our lesson today. Thank you all again for being here. And what's next? Oh, here's Reverend Kelly.
All right. Thanks so much, Buzz. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So just on the heels of that sacred ceremony and that opening prayer, just stay in that space of prayer and of serenity, of sacredness, and allow Ryan to take us into more music.
Breathe in the air. Don't be afraid to care. Leave, but don't leave me. Look around, choose your own ground. For long you live and high you fly. Smiles you give and tears you cry. And all you touch and all you see is all your life will ever be. Run, rabbit, run. Dig that hole, forget the sun. And when at last the work is done, don't sit down, it's time to dig another one. For long you live and high you fly, but only if you mind the tide. Balanced on the biggest wave, you race towards an early grave. Home, home again. I like to be here when I can. And when I come home cold and tired, it's good to warm my bones beside the fire. Far away across the field, the tolling of the iron bell calls the faithful to their knees to hear the softly spoken magic spell.
You're clearly nicer to me than I am to you with this microphone thing. Oh, gosh. All right, so I'm going to ask Buzz to come back up, and he is going to share his ideas about back to basics.
Thank you again, Reverend Kelly. Hey, you raised up. Yay. Hello again. I'm the practitioner of the day, and again, my name is Buzz Noe, and happy to be here and provide this for everyone. So, got some notes here, and I want to bring forth, oops, need my glasses. I'm an old man, gotta have glasses to read. So, A couple of quotes that I think fit into today's theme of Back to Basics and What's Your View is from Ernest Holmes, who says, "We live in a perfect universe, but it needs to be seen mentally before it becomes part of our experience," which I thought was very valid about what we're talking about today. And he also says, "We cannot lead a choiceless life. Every day, every moment, every second, there is a choice. If it were not so, we would not be individuals. So we're here as individuals to make that choice." And this from Nelson Mandela, which I thought fit in. "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising up every time that we fall." And this was a quote, I didn't see anyone's name on it, but I felt it was very valid for today. Your reaction is what counts, not the event. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, is that, and I've talked about this before, the actuality of existence in the universe is reality. It's happening right now. But we as humans interpret that reality in our own way. And this is something we have to keep in mind. What's going on is an absolute. How we look at it, how we feel about it, how we think about it is always up to us. A good example of this, I've mentioned it before here, is the temperature. Let's say it's 70 degrees out. There are humans who are going to say, "Oh, it's awfully warm today. Let's get the air conditioning on." And there's other humans who are going to say, "Oh, it's a cool day. Let's turn the heat on." So the temperature is an absolute. Our interpretation of how it is hot or cold is always up to us, and it's something that we keep in mind. We have to keep in mind. And these ideas all came to mind. My birthday is later this month on the 23rd. I'm going to be 77. And it took me back to the idea that the basics of life is what I started thinking about early on in my life. You know, what's life all about? What's happening in it? And this has been part of my thought process ever since. And it started out when I was living here on planet Earth, and I realized right away in my life that if you want to continue on in life and enjoy it, you should find a way to eat well, sleep well, exercise regularly, and have a positive mental thought. This happened early on in my life, and it's been with me ever since. And it's really a way to get through life and have that all keep you healthy and happy as you're living. And so what's the view I'm taking? This comes up a lot also, and one of the things we're going to be talking about today is how's the view. So I've already mentioned the existence of the universe is a reality. Our interpretation is always our human choice. And we talked about the temperature and how it can always be a different interpretation of what it is. And this is what I wanted to just say. The reality of the view of the reality of life is always up to us. Things happen in life that may not be our first choice, but since it's happening at any given moment, this is what's happening actually right now. It's always our choice as, is this a good or bad thing going on? And I've referenced this before here, and I thought it came up to mind also. Yosemite National Park, which I've been to a lot in my life. And one of the most beautiful places on this planet is Yosemite National Park. But when you're there, you have to realize that a couple of million years ago when it was being formed, this would not have been a place that you would have enjoyed being a human. The glaciers were happening, there were volcanoes going on. Things would have been bad for the human experience back then. But if you knew that Yosemite National Park, as it is today, was coming out of that, you could take that more positive view of, hey, this is creating Yosemite. This is going to be a beautiful place. And that's always our choice as things happen in life. One of the things happening in life right now, Hurricane Ian, which went through Florida and now going up the East Coast, certainly if you were there as part of that, it would not have been a pleasant place to be. But you took that, had that choice at that point during the hurricane to know that it was going to create a better situation in nature. Things were going to be able to be better formed, grow better. Things like that would happen as a result of the hurricane that was interfering with your specific life. Always our choice to take the view of what's going on and what's happening and find that positive mindset that this is going to improve things. Things are going to be better out of this. In traffic and everything else, always make that choice. And the more positive choice that you make is going to improve your health process, because as you go with a negative thought process, it takes away from your physical health and also takes away from your spiritual connection. And Ernest Holmes has referenced this a lot. The things that you put forth in your thought process and send out into the universe are what's creating what's going on out there. So if you send positive thoughts about how this is going to improve life, improve the world, it's going to have a much more positive opportunity to make that change than, oh, this is a terrible thing to happen, no, this is the worst thing that could ever be in my life. That's going to take away, and that same negative thought's going to go out there and take away the joy and the happiness and the goodness that life should reveal. So that's why we talk about this at the center always, to keep that positive mindset. It's going to create a more positive aspect and reaction in the universe. And that's the thought we're going to be looking at today when Reverend Kelly speaks to us. And that's what my message is to you today. Stay positive in your thought process. You're going to stay positive in your life and keep this entire universe in a more positive way. So thank you again.
Thank you again. Thanks so much, Buzz. Appreciate it for all that you do around here. All right, our lead in now to the Sunday message is once again Ryan Kimmery. Pay great attention to this song because I will be asking if you are familiar with it, if you've heard it before. Give me a hand for that. Thank you. Thank you.
So many faces, so many races, a different voice, a different choice. Some are mad while others laugh. Some live alone with no better half. Others grieve while others curse, and others mourn behind a big black hearse. Some are pure and some half-bred. Some are sober and some are wasted. Some are rich and some are fake. And some are poor with no food on their plate. Some stand out while others bland. Some are fat and stout while others thin. Some are friends and some are foes. Some have some while most have most. Every color, every hue is represented by me and you. Take a slide in the slow. Take a look in the kaleidoscope spinning round, make it twirl in this kaleidoscope world. Some are great and some are few. Others lie while some tell the truth. Some say poems and others sing. Others sing through their guitar strings. Some know it all while some act dumb. Let the bass line strum to the bang of the drum. Some can swim while others sink. And some will find their minds and think. Others walk while others run. You can't talk peace when you have a gun. Some are hurt and start to cry. Don't ask me how and don't ask me why. Some are friends and some are foes. Some have some while some have more. Well, every color, every hue is represented by me and you. Take a slide in the slow. Take a look in the kaleidoscope spinning round, make it swirl in this kaleidoscope world. Yes, every color, every hue is represented by me and you. Take a slide in the slow. Take a look in the kaleidoscope spinning round, make it whirl in this kaleidoscope world. In this kaleidoscope this kaleidoscope world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, thank you. So, Kaleidoscope World. You guys familiar with that song? Do you know that song? Anybody? One hand here. Alfie has a hand up back in the sound booth. I was quite certain Alfie would raise his hand when I asked this question because he turned me on to this song. This song, Kaleidoscope World, was written and performed by a Filipino artist named Francis Magalona. And those lyrics, I suspect you weren't able to really make all of them out if it's the first time you heard the song, which so often happens. So the lyrics say something about many races, many faces, different voices, different choices. And so it's talking about the vast diversity of experience we see in the world in which we live. People and places and circumstances and issues which come up. It talks about the short and the tall and the heavy and the thin and all of those things, all of the myriad experience to which we are accustomed in our world. And so what Francis Magalona calls the kaleidoscope world is really the world in which we find ourselves. It is this world of tremendous diversity and experience with lots and lots and lots of things to experience in this life. Yes? And just on our little planet, to speak a little bit of diversity, on our little planet, does anybody know how many countries are on this planet? I don't know why you would know that. The most recent Google search suggests there are 195 countries on the planet at this time. It does actually vary occasionally, but 195 currently. Would you have a guess as on these 195 countries, or in these countries, how many living languages, which means languages that are still in use, at least to some degree, on planet Earth? The most recent count is 7,151. Is that fascinating? It fascinates me. So 7,151 living languages, meaning they are at least to some degree still in use. Would you believe that there are more than 80 of those languages which are not spoken but are whistled? More than 80 languages which are whistled, not spoken. I find this miraculous. And these languages tend to exist in remote areas, mountainous regions where there are lots and lots of vegetation, and it's not so particularly easy to traverse the ravine or the valley to go over to your neighbor's house and pound on their door and tell them what it is you would like to tell them. And so over the course of millennia, languages have developed which are whistled, and I am told that some of those are as intricate as spoken languages. Thank you. So, I read an article about one of those languages which is still utilized in an area of the country of Greece. I read this article a couple years ago, and this particular language is projected to become a dead language or to become extinct probably within the next generation or so. And those languages go extinct for a couple of different reasons. One of those reasons is that if you can imagine living life in one of these areas, in the mountains, where vegetation is dense, where life is not particularly easy, it is a very physically demanding way of life, many people simply leave those areas now in our modern culture and opt for villages or towns or cities where it's easier to live and then to survive and make a living, that sort of thing. One other reason that these languages die is from lack of use, and one of the things that causes that lack of use is the aging population in these given remote areas. So you could imagine that they live in these places where they don't have particularly good access to health care and dental care and that sort of thing. And one of the things that kills these languages, as curious as this is that as people in these areas age, they often lose their teeth, which then renders them incapable of using that native language. I find this absolutely fascinating. So what about colors? How many colors do you suppose there are in our world? All of them is true. The guys who count this sort of thing, who using whatever algorithms and formulas they do this with, the guys who count this tell us there are 18 decillion varieties of colors in our world. 18 decillion, and that looks like this. It looks like 18 followed by 33 zeros. That is the level of diversity that we live in and amongst and around that. And so I share these statistics and ideas just to remind you what an incredible universe we do live in. I know we get bound up and caught up in our daily life sometimes, and we sort of can't see past that in some ways, and we become less aware of the absolute wonder in the world in which we live. And yet, we do live in this world of, we talk about it here a lot. We talk about it in New Thought and in spiritual centers. We talk about the world of abundance, the world of infinite possibility, this universe that is beyond limit, and we talk about that. And yet, we ourselves quite often get caught up in the mix of our own lives, and rather than continually seeing brand new, exciting, amazing experiences in our lives, we sometimes, like that kaleidoscope, kind of got caught and it stuck on a single image. We sometimes notice patterns repeating, right? Some old pattern comes up again and again. I would like to have something new, but actually what shows up is maybe a little modified, sort of different version of the past. This same experience coming up again and again and again. Has that happened in your life in some ways? Probably for all of us, I would suspect. It's kind of like the job. I left this job in favor of this one, and after being there for a short time, I realized that this one really is just about as unfulfilling as that one was and the last one. Or I dive into a brand new relationship and I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited and everything is wonderful and marvelous. And then in sometime in the not-too-distant future, I began noticing the flaws and imperfections in my significant other. And that relationship sort of takes a different turn, and maybe it crashes and burns, or just isn't as wonderful as it once was, or perhaps it ends in some very similar fashion to past relationships. And so that is us dragging along those familiar patterns and creating and recreating those again and again. And so we have all sat here and just sort of oohed and awed at the idea that there are whistle languages on this planet and that we really do live in this world of limitless possibility. And I suspect we would all, if we had a really honest conversation, also admit to the fact that, yes, we do recreate those old patterns that maybe no longer serve us, and we would really like to trade those in for something newer and more vibrant and more incredible. And so, what is it then that is responsible, even when it is our heart's deep desire to change something in our lives, when we really go into that effort with great faith and great passion and great heart, what is it that would prompt us then to continue to create similar experiences rather than the new joyous ones which we probably are seeking? And I'm going to, in a moment, share a quote, and this will be from Ernest Holmes, but I want to preface it for just a second. This is a quote from Ernest Holmes, and he is the founder of religious science. I know most people will know that here, but anybody who doesn't know that, he's the founder of our philosophy. And his opus work is The Science of Mind, and this quote comes from The Science of Mind, but in this little short quote he references objective form. And so I just want to preface this by saying what he means when he talks about objective form in this quote and throughout The Science of Mind. Objective form refers to all the stuff we see in life, all the stuff out here, the people, the places, the circumstances, the situations in our lives. That is objective form as it is referred to by Ernest Holmes. So, quote, please. Ernest says this. He says that the objective form to which we give our attention is created from the very attention which we give to it. That is a powerful understanding. Do you get that? The objective form, that which we look at, those old issues which we would love to let go of, which we would love to release and replace with something more wonderful and fascinating and fulfilling, are kept in place and recreated over and over again simply by the attention that we place on them. Do you get the significance of that? And do you understand that you wield that much power? Do you understand that by placing your attention where you want it, you can create something new? You can have a different experience of life. And so the question then becomes, how do I do that? How do I make deliberate use of my own attention? How do I deliberately adjust it so that I participate in the creation of those things in life that I would like to see show up rather than the repeated patterns that I would really like to let go of? And so, I want to flash back to Las Vegas, Nevada. I've referenced it, at least a couple times from this stage. You may know that I lived many of my adult years in Las Vegas. This would be, I'm going to say, probably the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. But I was living and working in Las Vegas, and I was involved in one of the huge struggles that I have faced in my life. And so I'm going to share some deeply personal information about this. So please don't look at me in a stranger way after my revealing this stuff to you. But I was involved in this deeply personal struggle. Do you remember those damned 3D Magic Eye books? I was involved in this struggle with those 3D Magic Eye books because I was fascinated by them in a way. They're these books, if you don't know, you look at the page and there's kind of a sort of maybe a geometrical, colorful image on it, and you're supposed to look at it, and within that image there's supposedly a 3D image that lifts off the page to reveal itself to you. And I was fascinated with these, and I will tell you I spent countless hours looking at these books and never once seeing a 3D image. So much so that I allowed, ultimately, that the entire thing was a conspiracy. I thought the entire thing was a hoax. I envisioned, in some metropolitan city somewhere in America, in a high-rise office building somewhere, there were 2 or 3 company executives in their high-back chairs with their feet up on a conference table, just laughing like hell at the guys who are buying these books, looking for these images which don't in fact exist. And at some point in those years, I was on the phone with my sister who lives in Oklahoma. Her name is Shelley. I was on the phone with my sister Shelley, and for whatever reason, our conversation meandered to a discussion of these 3D books. And she revealed to me that she could see these images. And I kind of chuckled, and I said, I don't think so. I think it's a hoax. And she said, no, absolutely, I can see those. My kids and I look at them all the time. We have them. I can see those images. And so we talked about it, and she said, Kelly, it's real. I just take the page, I look at it, and I just, I try to relax, and rather than really intensely looking at the image on that page, I try to just look through it, maybe is the verbiage. I look through it or look beyond it. I try to see past the image that's staring me in the face. And so, armed with this newfound information on a day off in Las Vegas, I stopped at what then was Borders Books. Stopped at Borders Books and went in, and I roamed around a little bit, looked at a few books, and then I found a table, kind of a display table, and it was covered with different iterations of these 3D books. And so I picked one up, and I opened it to a page, and I looked at the image, and guess what happened for me? Not a damn thing. Not a thing happened. The same experience that I'd been dragging around was right there with me again. And so I picked up another book, nothing. Turned to a different page, again, nothing. And then my sister's words came back to me. And so I turned back to the book, and I looked at it, and I opened up a page, and I looked at an image. And her advice of just relaxing and trying to see beyond what was looking at me popped up in my mind. And I did exactly that. And then for a second I felt dizzy. And then I realized that it's not that I'm dizzy, it is that this image is actually lifting off the page and sort of propelling itself toward me. And this was an image of seahorses that lifted off of this page. It was kind of a blue background, kind of waves and stuff, and these seahorses came out at me. And I stood there in amazement, really. And so I looked at another page, another image, and dolphins came out. And then palm trees. And then I put that book down and went to another one. And I opened it, and time after time after time, I was able to see the 3D image within the graphic image printed on a page. And it was a mesmerizing experience. I understand we are not talking about the most earth-shattering event in one's life, but in my life, on that particular day and at that particular time in life, it was a very important event. Not because I could see a 3D image. Not because I saw seahorses and dolphins and palm trees. That was not the point. That was not the power in my mind of this experience. The importance and the power of this experience is that I was able to transcend a limitation that had followed me around for a long, long time. I had been creating again and again a very similar, common, exact experience. And that day, standing in Borders bookstore, I was able to move beyond that limitation. So that is a very powerful idea. Regardless of the exact circumstances of the idea, it is a very powerful one. And so in that experience that day, in the context of my talk today, where we are talking about the basics of spirituality, the basics of science of mind, of how do I take this stuff and make use of it in my life? How do I take my attention, which is a wondrously powerful, creative concept. How do I deliberately use my attention so that I participate in the creation of that which I want, and deliberately then allow to move out of my experience that which I no longer want? I learned a great deal about that from that experience with those books and in Borders bookstore that particular day. And part of what I learned is this. It is the old adage, the old line that the financial planner tells you one last time as you are handing your money to them so that they can put it to work for you. And it is that idea that past performance does not guarantee future results. But in this idea, in this way, in this concept, this is a very good thing. It means that regardless of the situation, my situation with the 3D books, but it's not limited to that. In any situation in life in which I have tried and I have failed and I have something that I would love to let go but seems to be following me around like a bad penny, that I am not limited to that experience. That past performance does not guarantee a future result, that I am free. There is at least possibility for me to have something new, something wonderful, something that I desire in my life. I learned also that sometimes the very best effort I can make is no effort at all. That sometimes what really I need to do is relax into this situation, is to relax into the experience, rather than drag along some old unwanted pattern and have it present itself again in my life. What if I relaxed into this experience, and instead of bringing that along with me, I looked through it? I looked past it. I looked beyond it to that life and that experience which is waiting on the other side. What if that is where I placed my attention? And so all in all, in that experience, I was reminded that there is a power which indwells us. There is a power in this world and a power which indwells us, that if we are willing to make use of it, allows us to start over, allows us to begin again, and allows us to have a new and fresh and exciting, changed life experience. But here's the deal on that power and on utilizing that power. One of the really important points about it is that I have to relax into it. That means I have to stop trying sometimes so doggone hard. That when I relax into that power and allow it to work through me, it is not me trying harder. And it is absolutely not me making something happen. It is me relaxing into that power which indwells me and allowing something to happen, allowing the image of life that I want to see just to lift off the page and hand itself to me. And that, my friends, is the power which indwells us. That is the power of using our attention. It is available to every one of us right now and in every moment. So, blessings on you all. Much love to everybody. Happy Sunday, and thank you so much for being at Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley. Okay, we are going to do our offertory, and those baskets are going to be around in just a minute. So we have an offertory prayer. I do like to preface this. I've asked every week here, please, if you are moved in a way to be a part of this center, to support our center and our work, please make sure that whatever you give this center comes from your heart. And with that being said, let's do this offertory together. Before reaching into my pocket, I look into my heart. I see a life that is rich in so many blessed ways. It is my heart's great desire to share with others the good that has been so generously given me. In so doing, my efforts and impact are magnified, and the world is infused with a greater sense of giving. And so it is. All right, guys. So appreciate your support of this center and of the work that we do here. I am going to ask our very own Jerry T. to come up here. And Jerry today is going to share announcements and a few things that are going on in and around the center. Thank you. You want that?
Thank you, Reverend Kelly. And I put my attention on my intention, and that was to do announcements today. Thank you, Buzz. And this week's announcements are live in-person treatments are now available after our Sunday service. And Reverend Lynn, would you raise your hand? She will be available in room 4 to provide you with some spiritual treatment for anything going on in your life. What's up Wednesday? Okay, Reverend Kelly is going to be here Wednesday, October the 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. Whatever you would like to discuss or review about today's lesson, come on by and speak to him about that. A reminder that we're online and we're available to take donations that way through PayPal, Zelle, credit cards, and the website. Save the date for this event. It is our Spiritual Energy Fair on Saturday, October the 29th. Come and spend the 29th here at the center. It will start at 10 a.m. through 5 p.m. and there will be readers, healers, and a lot of fun because it is close to Halloween. Some of us will be dressed up. And look at our new website, refreshed and updated with all the information on these events and more. It is csl-pleasantvalley.org. And this last little poem is for Buzz, and because we have to have some rhyme time. Have no fear, October is here. Bring autumn leaves and pumpkins, please. Embrace all of your wildest dreams.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, so a couple things. Website address. It was a little difficult to see on that slide, just the color of it, but understand it is CSL-Pleasant Valley. If you don't use that dash, you're out of luck. Okay? Kind of a big deal. I will be here Wednesday, office hours, 4 to 6. I'm available. If that doesn't work for you and you would like to have a discussion or something's going on in your life you'd like to talk about, I'm available for that for anybody. Just reach out to the center and that'll be set up for you. I want to mention another save the date. So I wanted to do this myself. I am asking this community to come together on Sunday, the 23rd of October. That is 3 weeks from today. Sunday, October 23rd, right here after service, to discuss this center, to discuss how we grow as a center, our future, what that looks like, those kinds of things. So please make plans to be here for that. It'll be as soon as possible after service. We will serve lunch in an effort to bribe you to stay. So lunch will be had. I don't have a menu for anybody or anything like that, but lunch will be had. Please, I'm asking you personally, come to that. Let's enter the discussion that is needed about how we grow and move and groove as a spiritual community. Okay? Okay, I am going to close us out with a prayer, and then Ryan is going to sing us out for the day. So if it's comfortable for you, wherever you're sitting right now, if you are so inclined and want to close your eyes, I am certainly doing that, and simply take ownership of your attention right now and place it inward. Turn your attention inward to that place within you that is perfectly calm and still. Because beyond all the chatter of the mind and beyond any concerns of the day and personal concerns in life, there is a silence, an awareness, a presence which indwells each of us. And so it is this power that is the single power behind all of life. I know that every person is connected. Every person is one with the entire creative intelligence of the universe. And so what I know is that my life is good. It is very good. It is great. That I am honored to be a member of this spiritual center. I know that as I step into my power, that as I relax into it, a new life, a new world, new relationships, new colors, new patterns emerge for me. And I know that is true for absolutely everyone. And so I say yes to that. I say yes to a greater level of responsibility in wielding my own attention and in co-creating the world that works for everyone. And so for this and so much more, I am profoundly grateful. I simply release my word knowing it is true. And I do that by affirming. And so it is.
All right, guys, so happy to be with you this Sunday. I'm going to share with you a song that I wrote maybe 5 or 6 years ago. A buddy of mine did a proposal video for his now wife, and he wanted some music for it. Well, she said yes, so I think it worked out. I like to share it for you. And then if you ever like to see the proposal he did actually as a music video, you can look me up online, Ryan Kimmery. It's Kimery. You can find all the albums that I've done and everything as well, like on Spotify. So feel free to check it out. You might like some of the music. Sunlight light up the lands I tread, and where the river ends, paint me in gold. Well, I swear to you, I felt this way before. For every mountain climb, well, there's a mountain more. To you, my love, I sing atop this cliffside. Well, Lord knows I will hold true. Oh, kind woman, you fed us from your stove. With humble heart she bled and gave us home. Yes, she did. Thanks to you was nothing in return. Every lesson taught was lesson learned. To you, my love, I sing atop this cliffside. Well, Lord knows I will hold true. Well, come on, pretty mama, I just got to let you know. This kind of love is heavy, I gotta let it show. Come on, pretty mama, I just got to let you know. This kind of love is heavy, I can't let you go. Oh, 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 oh. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Much love to you all. I will see you Wednesday evening right here in the center. I will see you Thursday evening if you are in our Serenity Prayer class. And then again next Sunday morning. Much love, guys. Have a great week.